is another, and I think you're going to get lots of ways to get this kind of estimate, because I think that Julie has some for you too. But then you can Google Smart Track. I think we keep going. We've got there's the, and that's on your printout. There's the address. And I would take your 2018 taxes and do the calculator, and then you can get a free 15-minute consultation where someone can actually give you some advice. So I thought that was great, and we've offered it to our families. Or you can go to Big Future or Sally Mae. You can, and it's just a general net price calculator which mimics the FAFSA. Great. And what you get is called an EFC, and that assumes that you have saved and will borrow. So it's painful. It's not something you can just pull out of, oh yeah, I have that left over every month, right? It's not going to feel like that. It's going to be too big. And there's lots of reasons for that a financial aid professional could explain to you better than I, except I sense that their formulas are old, so they don't understand what it actually costs to live in the U.S. It's supposed to come from 1/3 savings, 1/3 borrowing, and 1/3 current income. And then I gave you that EFC quick reference table, and that is income only. So it is going to ask about if you have money in retirement savings or other kinds of savings. The financial aid formulas will ask about that. And if you have significant assets that can change your expected family contribution a little bit, somewhat, but it is really an income-driven process. So.
Sarah, can I ask you a question? So I think maybe this was on the previous slide. I just want to highlight and confirm that this is true. That in 9th grade, I think I saw that you could start doing that.
Yeah.
So to
do it now, right? Because it just helps to know. And that's why I'm a senior. We found the tables pretty accurate. So if you lose the paper, there's the, and if you can save now, that gives you options. All savings should be in the parent's name if you're going to qualify for need-based aid. So parents' assets, if you have savings, they are assessed at this rate, 5.65, whereas children's assets are assessed at 20%. So one of my colleagues whose son worked every summer, she'd have him hand her the money and she put it in her bank account because she wanted it to be assessed at her rate and not his. Okay?
So what does assessed mean? Assessed in terms of eligibility for aid?
They will expect you to spend maybe about that much of your savings of an asset every year. That's one way to think about it. Whereas if a child goes to college with a couple $1,000s in a bank account, they're going to take a bigger chunk of it every year. They're going to expect their child to spend more. And usually family cash is sort of all the same thing, at least in our family. So it's good to keep it under the parent's name. If you have a 529 plan, that is a parent asset. Those, which is great to know. If you have a 529 college savings plan. This is a great book. A lot of it is written for tax professionals, but the introduction is really good. So if you are interested in that book, paying for college without going to it. And then the Smart Track advisors will also discuss asset management with you if you do their free 15-minute consultation. It can tell you if you have savings.
So can we just pause for a quick second? So I'm just wondering, I just wanted to ask in the room if anybody has, whether it's an online search or potentially a resource, it's Smart Track, is that? accessed a resource like that before? Who's maybe done a little bit of kind of beginning to look around on this topic before? Has anybody started? Okay. All right. That's helpful to know that we're really at the beginning of our journey here. So I just want to make absolutely sure that, this is Sarah's area of expertise. So if there are questions, please, feel free to put your hand in the air and ask them. We'll also have parents and students a little bit later today. Does anyone have a question that they're thinking about right now? Just taking it in. Yep.
So with the income driven, do they also look at, let's say we have 401k, things like that? They take all of that consideration?
No, 401k is separate, but they do ask how much you put into it before taxes every year. That gets wrapped back into your income. The reason it's worth doing the calculator is it's really hard to try to figure out how they're going to look at all your different pieces, and do the calculator and you'll get a number, and then you'll have some idea, right? We really are walking through this now and trying to figure out, is it better to take a home equity loan or to try to sell off something I have invested to pay for this, and it's hard to figure out what the implication of everything is going to be. But I found the calculator's pretty accurate. Okay. It's very hard for children to pay for college. College costs more, as you imagine, right? $20,000 or $30,000 a year. You just can't do it. The federal government allows dependent students to borrow a total of $31,000, which is 1 year, right? As you all accurately estimate. So, the current interest rate for these loans is 5.05 for new undergraduate loans in 2019-20. The average indebtedness at a four-year public university that's getting state funding, like UC or Ohio State, is about $27,000. The average interest rate for those loans is about 3.9%, so that might include some loans are subsidized by the federal government and some are not. So if you qualify for the subsidy, then of course your total interest rate will be lower. So if you had $27,000 borrowed at 3.9%, you have to pay $280 a month for 10 years. That's what the maximum amount of loan is. So, and then any additional borrowing really should be the payments. So, yeah.
Is there going to be like on-campus opportunities, like you can get like a campus job?
Yeah. There are, and those are really good. And they'll often come as part of your package. So the college will say, here, we'll give you this subsidized loan, about $3,000 subsidy. We'll give you $2,000 that's unsubsidized, and we'll give you a job where you can make about maybe $1,500 a semester. Does that sound accurate? So, that's a lot of the cost that you can shoulder. The unsubsidized loans are much better than the subsidized loans are much better to take than the unsubsidized. So, it is a lot of the cost that you can shoulder.
How do we get those jobs?
Well, if you qualify for need-based financial aid, the college is going to give you priority. They're going to say, you come first. Here's the list of jobs. We're going to give you one of them first. You go apply. And then, if we have other jobs left over, they'll go to other people who have a lower priority. So it's good. They take responsibility for helping you get a job. You have to apply. You have to find a place that you want to work. And they tend to be good jobs. Do you have friends who have these?
Yes, I have an on-campus job, which is really nice because I just sit at a desk. I'm able to do my homework, but I'm also able to make some money that can be paid towards tuition or just other expenses that I have.
Yeah, it's really good. And the bosses tend to be understanding if you say.
Yes, very flexible. If I can't come to work because I have a big test, they're fine with letting me take off that day and then maybe coming in another day to work. So really nice.
Yeah, great. Employers off campus are less forgiving. So that's great. Okay. So this is about finding the institutions that are going to really want your child and fund you the most, which is one of the best strategies for getting a lot of financial aid. So this comes into play maybe a little bit more later, maybe by sophomore year or junior year when you begin to build a college list. But I might as well go through it. Public universities are affordable for residents of the state they serve, right? So I always have students who come in my office, I want to go to UCLA, I want to go to UNC Chapel Hill, right? These are expensive if you don't live in California or North Carolina. They average about $50,000. So there are public universities in the Southeast and the West that try to lure kids with very high GPAs and test scores with merit scholarships. But they usually can't compete with what a place like your in-state colleges can do. So they usually can't compete with UC or Ohio State or Miami in terms of really luring them. And private colleges have this staggering sticker price. But if you have significant need, they can be the most generous sometimes. So, so I'm going to just backtrack for a second, say again that getting enough funding for college has a lot to do with applying to maybe many places, but also a set of places that are really going to try to attract your child. And this is something it's hard to get my own families. It's hard to get them to do the net price calculator now. So if you go home and do it, and your child's in 8th grade, you are so ahead, right? I find that so hard to get families to do. And the second thing that's hard is to realize you don't want to narrow the list too soon, and you want to look in the right places. So really get your counselor to help you work on that. Where is my kid really who's gonna really be trying to attract my kid? Okay? But these can be, don't be put off by the sticker price. Am I going too slowly? And merit scholarships can make private colleges a very good deal for some of our families. I'll tell you a little more. Okay, every private college, but the most wealthy, is practicing preferential packaging. This is exactly what I was just saying. So students whose grades and test scores or other desirable attributes are unusual or above average for that college may get more generous need-based packaging. And other students can get gapped. Have you heard that term? So sometimes a college will want you, but they can't afford you. So they'll admit you and they'll give you what they can, but it's not enough. It doesn't meet your need on the table, right? So that's why, just to reinforce, you gotta look in the right places. These are some examples of great packages for families with need, with significant need. So families have gone to, these are very expensive private colleges, right? But they've gone with packages for as little as $2,000 a year. If a college gives you a package like that with no loans and only $2,000 a year in cost, that's a college saying, okay, now the kid can pay for it, right? Because a child can take out $2,000 in loans. So that can be pretty fantastic. And we had one student with significant need who could have attended Ohio State for $100 a year. I was really impressed by that. Because when I first moved to Ohio about 15 years ago, Ohio State was using merit money to attract top scholars, and it wasn't, and then they really shifted for affordability. They really got interested in that. I was very impressed with that. And here are people with some need, right? So colleges think, yeah, you can afford some. The University of Dayton or Denison, these are private colleges in Ohio that sometimes have been less expensive than, say, public. And then twins with retired parents, that's a special case, right? 2 kids at once and no more income coming in. Then they got big packages. And then these are people who had no need. So a Division I athlete, so she had an athletic scholarship, and then she got academic scholarships, and then she got local scholarships to go to a mid-sized in-state public university. So people always talk about a full ride, but that's hard to get, right? Just know that. I mean, it's more likely that families are going to need to chip in some stuff. And here's another one who could have gone to university. But it takes accumulating a lot of scholarships to go for no cost. And National Merit semifinalists can go to public university honors colleges, paying a few thousand a year. Okay, students who are seeking aid for college, here's what you can do. You get the best grades you can. You take the most challenging curriculum you can. So that's a balance, right? Sometimes you got to take the most challenging curriculum in which you can get good grades. And this is another thing that as a counselor I do all the time is try to talk people through it. Can you really take that many AP, right? Maybe take one fewer AP and then you can balance it all and your overall grades go up. Prepping for the SAT or ACT test. That's something that I'm not sure families always equate with money. But it can help. Colleges buy schools. The higher your scores, get to know your counselor early and go see him often. Yeah.
Okay, so at my school, like our graduation requirement just for graduation
Yeah.
is only you have to have like 3 sciences and 3 like history credits. But at the same time, like to get an honors diploma, you should have all 4
Yeah.
and to get an AP. But I like through our counselors, the way they make it sound like is that like you could go to college with just 3 of those, but you really can't, and they call it honors diploma.
Yeah.
Instead of like just basically saying like this is how you can get into college. So like my counselors try a lot of stuff that's kind of like not it, and the way they schedule you is not it at all, and they don't even schedule you to like fit that your required graduation needs. Like you need a specific number of arts and everything like that. I don't know, my counselors are reliable source.
Wow. Okay. So, do you have specific colleges in mind?
Not really.
What grade are you?
I'm in 9th.
Okay. So, and do they schedule you, or do you get to choose, and then did they decide what you're in?
Well, I get to choose, but if they do, they'll be like, well, I personally think you should do this, or you should do that, or then they'll like try to, I don't know, overpower you when it comes to scheduling.
Maybe too much.
You're like trying to dictate what you want, so I can be like very straightforward
Yeah.
and assertive when I have to mark my things.
Yeah.
Because like if not, my counselors just want to mark what they want. Like they really try to give you nothing at all.
Good for you. I mean, so Renita Brooks, who is going to be here from Walnut Hills, she said, advocate, advocate, advocate. Go see your counselor, and then the next slide is about parents, and she said, advocate, advocate, advocate. So I just keep tweaking, be angry if they're not giving you what you want to take. I think you're absolutely right. Yeah, you don't have to have 4 years of science or 4 years of history, but to graduate in Ohio. But it's really good to have that. Colleges are impressed if you stay in as many disciplines as possible for as long as possible. So you're absolutely right.
So that to me seems like a really important distinction, that there's a difference between the minimum requirements to graduate and what positions you best for the best future opportunities. So I think noticing what that difference is and be willing to push through the minimum requirement with these goals in mind, I think that's a really powerful message, for our group that we know is an incredibly high-performing, talented group of students. So
Right.
we're better than the minimum requirements.
Yeah.
So
Don't let them underestimate. Yeah.
What school do you go to?
I went to Princeton.
I was just curious because it's funny that you say that, not funny, but we had a similar experience where our student decided not to take pre-calculus. She took probability and statistics. And when applying to the college college, her preferred college, it wasn't enough. Because it wasn't considered a high enough level math. And she did that to set herself up for success because we want a higher GPA, right? But it automatically excluded her from her top choice because of that reason. Had we known, we would have taken a different route. But I'm sorry to hear that, but I find that fantastic bullet point because not only do you have to know your counselor and see them often, you also have to see from the beginning what schools am I looking at and what are their requirements. You know, so.
That's right. No, you do want to take the So her senior year course was probability and statistics.
Her senior year course, she did not take a math.
Yeah.
She took 3 years of math.
Yeah.
Geometry, algebra,
Yeah.
geometry, algebra 2, and then probability and statistics.
Yeah.
She did not take math senior year. And she had 3 years of math,
right.
But they wanted her to have pre-calculus, and she didn't.
Right. And
that was
now,
not-
this was a few years ago, right? Because now, to graduate from high school in Ohio, you have to have 4 years of high school math. Or was she getting credit for something she took in?
Probably getting, she graduated from Walnut Hills.
Yeah.
But if you take algebra in your middle school years.
Right, so she took algebra in 8th grade.
Okay. Yeah,
She
don't.
graduated last year, 2019.
So don't believe them. 4 years of math. In high school, 4 years of math. Because that'll get you to the higher level. And 4 years of English in high school. Yeah.
Okay, I would also have a question because
Yeah.
my school is the senior 8th grade where they said that if you take health and gym in 8th grade, that'll count as your credit and stuff like that. But like the year before us, they were saying that didn't count for them, and they were all kind of messed up because of that. But then, like they also offered algebra 1 in 8th grade for us to take, so that would end up having us have 5 years of math. But I don't know how valid the credit is, and every time like you'll mention it to a counselor, they'll kind of like play it off like, yeah, you took it 8th grade. But like, how can I make sure that I have that credit for that when we graduate?
Do they hand you your transcript when you go meet with them? Do they show you your transcript?
I didn't see my transcript at all.
So when you meet with your counselor, ask if you can see your transcript. I mean, maybe they won't print it out and hand it to you, but maybe they can show it to you on a computer screen. Does that sound like, yeah, that's what we do.
Okay.
And it should say Algebra 1 in 8th grade, or it should either have an 8th grade line or it's built into your 9th grade. You'll have like 2 maths it'll look like in 9th grade, something like that, okay?
Okay.
Ask if you got that.
I think, Ariel, it's like what you said, you have to be your biggest advocate, right, of the courses and knowing what, because Ohio changes their high school
Yeah,
graduation
that's right.
requirements all the time. I mean, it's been
It does.
different for many years. So whatever, high school graduation, yeah, you want to have your high school certificate, right? But just know, as people have said, what colleges are expecting you to have. So it's you having the knowledge and then advocating for that.
And it's okay if you choose a college now and it changes, but you have a bullet point, or you have a guideline to that college, and you see, oh, this college wants this, this, and that. You have a guideline, okay?
Yeah. And you can start applying for scholarships now. I'll give you some raise.me. I'll give you a couple of links soon, places that you can start accumulating some scholarships now. And parents, take every opportunity to meet with counselors, college nights, or if they're offering one-on-one meetings. Fabulous. This is what Rania said. Just this is your number one job. Right? My daughter wanted higher level math. Can we get that into her? And then if you go to college fairs, you can also ask questions about, that's where you might ask, am I in high enough math? Right? And you can ask about scholarships and aid. And then this is the other thing, I'll just say this again, that sometimes it's hard to make that equation, but spending money, a little money for test prep can be worth bigger yields in scholarships, because people who are choosing among a lot of worthy kids often use scholarships test scores to decide who to give the most money. So these are the places you can see scholarships in 9th grade. kids.me, goingmary.com, FastWeb. The College Board has scholarship competitions if you just do steps in their college search process. So, and that's on the printout that I gave you. And then these are free SAT, ACT prep sites, which you may know very well about. Khan Academy. There's one at the Hamilton County Library. You need a library card. You have to log in. But then if you go to their Testing and Education Center, there's a ACT prep course there that's free. But I'll just say one more thing. When our kids try to do it all on their own, you have to be pretty determined to get enough practice to do it all on your own. It helps if someone's going through it with you. Some high schools offer Khan Academy, like a teacher will take you through a Khan Academy course. Have you heard of this? Some high schools offer that. That can be great. And then I can give you other prep sites, usually for about where you could go and take a class, or you could get a virtual online tutor for about maybe $385. So, if that's, I didn't include those, but I can include you. Just some programs to know about. And I think maybe your panel's going to tell you even more. But you know, the UC Cincinnati Pride grant, they really try to make it affordable, provided you graduate from Cincinnati Public School with a 2.2. The Young Scholars Program, it's a separate application. Renita Brooks said the hardest thing is to get people to actually do it. It's a fabulous program, support and funding. And then QuestBridge, and I mixed up the letters here, but it's the Jack Kent Cook Foundation Young Scholars Program. You can apply in 7th grade, so you could look at that. We find these hard to get. They're hard to get. The requirements are very high. Maybe less for the Jack Kent Cook. So you can certainly try them both. But if you're a student who is if your grades are good enough and you have need so that you might qualify for some of this, there are colleges out there. If we go back to the places where kids could go for $2,000, they're going to fund you. Even if you don't get QuestBridge, there are lots of colleges that are going to really want you if you're sort of in that category. Right?
Just a quick note, coming live probably sometime next week on the Breakthrough Cincinnati website, thanks to Cameron who's interning with us right now. We're beginning to compile scholarship resources and other programmatic support. So for those of you that are in 8th and 9th grade, as you move up through high school, we're trying to curate a list for you of programs. So it might be ACT prep or a college preparatory program with another organization, and then also a list of scholarships. That's not all the scholarships, so continue to do your own searching and follow what Sarah has here, but next week-ish, and maybe we'll put a note out to you when it goes live, you'll be able to access this information and continue your search there. So I just wanted to let you know that's coming online probably next week.
It is a lot of information. Big takeaways, which I should have had another time. You told me to do that. Where you apply has a lot to do with how much money you get. And grades and test scores have a lot to do with how much money you get. So those are perhaps the biggest takeaways. Did you find that EFC quick estimator useful? This sheet? Did you find that useful? Or do you have to go, I had to take it home and look at what my last tax form said my income was. But that'll give you some idea. Do you